Hey folks, welcome back to our Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark, and today we're taking a look at Pathogenesis. Pathogenesis is brought to you by Games. It's for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, and games range anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes. In Pathogenesis, you take on the role of a pathogen with traits and toxins in order to enhance it, in order for you to attack the human body and destroy it. However, human body is not defenseless. So if you don't hurry, then it will gain immunity and all the pathogens will lose. Now, this is version 2.0 of Pathogenesis. What does that mean? Well, you're going to get some upgraded tokens, you're going to get some upgraded cards, and then there's a whole new expansion that's going to go along with new diseases and a new track to experience and attack and go after. And the interesting thing about this deck builder, and it is a deck builder at its core, is that you have multiple ways to play. There's a cooperative play, there's solo play, there's team play, and just competitive 4-player. And it's really interesting how the game sets up and how the win conditions are differ from each of the different types. Now, setup for this game is going to vary based on which way you're playing. You know, again, the solo, cooperative, or competitive, and how many players. So, but the essence of it is that you're going to have these different tracks, you know, like from tissue to respiratory and so forth, that you'll set up, and these are the areas of the body that you'll be attacking. And then you have your gene pool that you'll set up. And in the gene pool, you have different things like environment cards that you can buy into. You've got toxins, you've got traits. All of these things can add on to your pathogens. And then you have your pathogens that you can upgrade to either to a specific track or eventually to a superbug. And then you're going to set up the immune system cards, and there's 2 levels of these cards. And initially, the level 2 cards are all going to go into the discard pile, and they're designated by a small pips in the bottom right corner, so they're easily separated and prepared for gameplay. Now, all the level 1s go face down, and these are the cards you're going to be pulling from when the body kicks into high gear and starts attacking your pathogens. And then you have your various set of tokens to set up around the board. You've got your genetic value tokens, which genetic value throughout the game is really kind of the currency of the game. You've got defense and attack tokens. You've got various tokens that the body can use to go after your pathogens. So you have to keep an eye on those. And then there's fever cards that can dirty up your hand, basically, as you're trying to cycle through your cards. And of course, like any good deck builder, you're starting with your own set of cards. You have 10 cards to start, you draw 5, and that's going to be your starting hand. And before we actually jump into some of how this works, let's take a look at some of the icons, because there's a lot of different things to take note here. So like on your starting cards, you're going to have like your shield, which is your defense as the pathogen. You have an attack value. And those are probably 2 of your primary things you're going to be using for the pathogen to keep note of. However, your reference card has a lot of different things. You've got genetic value, like I said before, is the reference point or the money value in the game, basically. There's draw icons to help you draw more cards. Trash this usually gives you a special ability, like in this new DNA card. If you trash this card, you can place all 5 cards in the gene pool. Cycle that deck, basically, to see what else is coming up and what's new that you might buy in the future. So again, when you trash a card, that's out of the game. So it's definitely a sacrifice thing. So there's a couple different types of trash. You trash this card, which is a separate icon from trash a card. Trash a card means you could pick from any numerous type of different places in your play area. And then discard from the gene pool is another particular icon that you might tap into. Sharing, this card may share traits, which is really interesting as you build out those pathogens. And then preemptive attack. There are ways for you, once the body kicks into high gear, to attack the body before it gets a shot at your pathogen. So each turn is broken down into 5 phases. Now, at the beginning of the game, phase 2 and 3 are going to be skipped because you have not broken down the barriers of the body, thus kicking in the immune response. But once you do, once you break through these first initial 5 cards and start tapping into the tokens where you're actually damaging the body, then all the phases of the game will kick in and the immune system will try to wipe out the pathogens. All right, so first off, phase 1 is buy and play cards. And then if you are currently hip deep in the game, phase 2 gives you the Preemptive Strike ability if you have cards that allow you to do this. And then 3 would be for the immune system to come after your pathogens. And 4 would be for you as the pathogens to attack the body, and then phase 5 is a cleanup phase and refilling your hand with cards. So in phase 1, buying and playing cards, the big thing you're looking for here is the genetic value, maybe to tap into some new toxins, new traits for your pathogens. You're going to be playing pathogens out to the table in front of you and potentially adding onto them in the future, or even from cards in your hand that you might or might not have at this point. And really, that's kind of the core of what you're doing in that first buy and play, but you're going to always be looking for that next best card and ways to maybe thin your deck as you move into the next set of phases. Now, before moving on, let's talk about building out these pathogens, because this is one of the cool parts of the game, is that you build upon that pathogen with traits and toxins. And as you do that, it's going to add to your defense and to your attack value. So when you go after those tracks, you can weed down the body and get ahead of the immune system and win the game. So a couple more notes on these cards and how these pathogens work, because this is some of the really cool parts of the game, is as you create that pathogen and you add a toxin and a trait to it, they have to match up icons, the control points basically, and especially if it's a specific to tissue, the tissues need to match, unless you have like a superbug that can go after anything, right? But here, in this case, we put this combo together, and now we've got a pathogen that does a 6 attack value and has a 5 defense value. So it's a pretty good start for a pathogen to start going after the body. Now, one of the interesting things here, as you play these basic pathogens to the table, you have the opportunity, once they're in play, to upgrade them, and you have to go through an upgrade path. So you can grab any of like the tissue, you start like at this level and you still have to pay the cost of 2, but down the road you can upgrade it again to a 4, but then you could upgrade to a super pathogen. But you have to follow the upgrade path and pay the costs each time. And all that involves is the fact that you remove your card and you grab the new one and upgrade that pathogen for the rest of the game. The other nice thing about doing an upgrade like this is that you will be replacing the card, but this is your opportunity to rearrange traits or toxins that you may have attached to the previous version of the pathogen, and thus giving you more options. And then you're going to have those environment cards that you're going to put into play. And if you've got the triangle icon version, you're going to play that on your pathogen, which again, later in the game, if the immune system is attacking your pathogens, this allows you to attack the immune system first. Very crucial, and I like this card in particular, Con Crud. It seems to hit me all the time. And then we've got environment cards that allow you to draw more cards to your hand this turn. You can get more genetic value, so you have more money to spend basically to get more cards for down the road. So those environment cards really are important and not to be sacrificed. Now phase 2, again, if you're hip deep in the game and the immune system is attacking you, phase 2 is your opportunity, if you played a card, to do a preemptive strike. And that's really all this phase is. It would allow you to attack. And then phase 3, the immune system gets to attack if one of these tracks have been reduced, if their protection, the cards have been removed, then the immune system can attack your pathogens. And what you do is you look at how many pathogens you have on the table. You will take that many immune system cards and randomly place them face down and flip them over, and they resolve simultaneously. So if there's cards that are looking for specific tokens because maybe they were placed on your pathogen earlier from the immune system, then those cards will shift position and do more damage and attack your pathogen with a vengeance. And so then you're looking at that attack value in the top left corner of the immune system, and if it matches or beats your pathogen total defense value, then your pathogen is destroyed. Those cards are gathered up and put in your discard pile. And now it's time for the pathogens to attack. And depending on where you are in the game again, either if it's early on in the game, then you're going to be attacking a tract that has defense cards basically that you have to get through before you can actually tap into the valuable points and destroy the body. So again, just like with the immune system, you have to meet or beat that value on the card in order to take it out. And once those cards are gone, then you can start attacking the body directly. And once you do, whatever your attack value of your pathogen is, that's how many points you're going to get from that specific tract. And you also have to be mindful of what pathogen is attacking where, because your pathogens might be specific to tissue or something else. And if you have a superbug, then you get to choose which tract to go after. And then phase 5 is simply the end of your turn. It's a cleanup phase. You're discarding cards, you're drawing back up to your hand limit, and getting ready for your next turn. So the game comes to an end when one of two things happens. Either you've cycled completely through the immune system deck, going through level 1 and 2, that would give the body full immunity against all the pathogens. Or the pathogens have completed the required number of tracks to destroy. And once that happens, the game ends and you calculate points, and the pathogen with the most points wins. Now, if there's a tie, the pathogens that have the most points from the track that was just depleted, they will win the game. Or if there's still a tie, then you're going to look through your decks to see who has the most pathogens, and that player or that pathogen will win the game. Now, again, this is version 2.0 of the game. It plays pretty much like the original. There's just a couple little new things. You have new cards that get replaced, and you have tokens that get replaced. These tokens have attack values on them now, so it's something to be mindful of, giving the immune system a little more punch in the game. And then, of course, there's the new expansion with new viruses and new tracks to deal with. So these things combined really give this version of the game a lot more to do. All right, folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview, and everything you've seen here has been in prototype form. So keep a close eye on the campaign for any changes that still may occur. Now that said, if you like deck builders, this is really a solid deck builder with a really unique theme, and I really like how the different pathogens play into each other with the toxins and how you can combine the traits. That's really neat. I like that a lot. But ultimately, folks, if this looks like a game that would be of interest to you, I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. So I think that's it for me, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.